Welcome everyone to the Brotherhood Coalition podcast, which is a place for us as Black men to come together to have open, transparent, and authentic conversations on topics and issues affecting us in Canada. My name is Chuksanwachi, one of the co-organizers for this amazing organization. I'm also joined by my other co-organizers, Travis Dugan and Marco Theodore. I just wanted to quickly shout out, I know Travis, you're connecting to us from Jamaica right now, enjoying your day off, enjoying some sand, enjoying some sun. Really appreciate you taking the time to connect. And if you have any connection issues, if you have to jump right back into the episode, do so, no problem. We'll figure it out as we go along. So, just want to let you know that we're on episode number 5. Our team wanted to engage in a series of real conversations and topics related to relationships and dating and the factors that have really shaped our past and current behaviors and our experiences with our women. Obviously, brothers, we know. We like to talk about our dates when we go, and our relationships when we go to getting ourselves at the barbershop, getting our favorite lineup, at the gym, at a sporting event, or when we're just regularly kicking it with the fellas, having some drinks, right? In those settings, we would always be getting the male perspective, and the advice that we get from the fellas may be influenced by society, past experiences, or family histories. So, and obviously those can also impact and our own thought patterns and decisions and how we bring our full selves to our queens. So we really want to create this space where, healthy space, but for Black men and Black women to really come together to discuss our differences, our similarities, our stereotypes, but also celebrate each other in a way that builds healthy, strong, lasting relationships and ultimately families. Well, today is that very special day. Why, you ask? Well, we have some very amazing special guests in this virtual building with us today. We have 2 very exceptional women who have not only excelled within their professional life, but also have taken their skills to affect change within the Black and marginalized communities. They came together and co-founded this amazing business called YourBestFriend Pick, which is a dating matchmaking service that seeks to create meaningful connections and relationships for Black women. Therefore, I would like to introduce to you 2 out of the 3 co-founders, Naki Osute and Nana Obang. Nana, maybe you can start us off by just telling us a little bit about your organization, some of the services that you provide, and then from there we can start the conversation. Go ahead, Nana.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chooks. Thanks for inviting us to be a part of the conversation. We're very excited about what will unfold this morning. Your Best Friend's Pick is the name of our service. It's a matchmaking service, not an app. And what we do is we aim to improve the experiences of dating for both men and women. But what we're doing is focusing our service on Black women and all the men that love them. Okay, so we ourselves are 3 Black women, myself, Nana Obang, Naki Osute, sorry about that, and Patience Adamu. The 3 of us have co-founded this for a lot of different reasons, one of which is the fact that we've recognized that there's a gap in the market. So you have, or most people use dating apps and have this belief that when you go on a dating app, there are lots of options. And I would say to them, for the most part, there are. But what we've recognized through the data research and our own experience is that in actuality, for Black women, that pool of options is not really there for a lot of different reasons. And so one of the things we decided to do was, we should take up this charge, being experts at being Black women, and also being, professionals, business women as well. We've started a lot of our own businesses and have accomplished a lot in our personal lives. And we thought, this is a great place to, let's say, serve and support women who we regard as our friends, as our sisters, and also to support men in a different way, to allow them to access beautiful women like ourselves, and to get to know us in a way that maybe the apps don't offer. So in general, that's our service. It starts with a questionnaire. And through that, we have a consultation where we dig a little bit deeper to understand, some of the answers that have been provided in the questionnaire. There's a little bit of, I would say, the service is not focused on coaching, but that's a bonus. I would think that most people receive that you don't get typically with other matchmaking services out there. We've just launched in August, and there are folks who know us outside of the province of Ontario, but I would say our database right now is largely in the GTA, and we plan to expand that as we move forward. So I'll just pass it over to Naki to share a little bit more about the service and herself.
Yeah, thank you, Nana. I think Nana gave a really, really good comprehensive overview of what the service is and does. I want to just pick up on a couple of things that she said. So when we think about the dating market, we know, as Nana said, apps are the way that generally people are meeting. I think the percentage is like 70%, 65% of heterosexual couples meet on apps, and it's higher for couples from the LGBTQ plus community. But what's happened with that experience is, if we think about it, the app environment is a gamified environment. And so dating has become a game where there's winners and losers. And if you're competing, it switches your perspective and your approach to how you're going to engage with the person that you want to connect with. And we're seeing that even in the consultations that we do. Mm-hmm. We're hearing people say stuff like, oh, well, I don't want to call first because it puts me at a disadvantage. Or I don't want to express that I like the person before they express that they like me because I could lose. And so we've reconstructed dating into this game of winners and losers, and I don't know that that's benefiting anyone. Mm-hmm. The second thing that I think has really emerged, and part of why we took this on, is, I'm not sure about you all, but I know for myself growing up, I wasn't encouraged by my parents to date. There was this expectation that you're going to focus on your studies, and then when you're finished all the degrees you are supposed to get, find a husband. And how do you go from not ever practicing what it's like to sit and engage with a person? How do you go from not even understanding what it is that's important to you to all of a sudden having to make one of the most important decisions that's going to affect the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. So part of what I think we're accomplishing with our service is we're restoring people's faith in dating, because we're giving people a space to really practice how to date outside of the idea that there's going to be a winner and a loser.
Absolutely.
That's really amazing in terms of how you're doing that, and I take that the point in terms of the dating apps too as well, because that is definitely the way that we're going. But I kind of wanted to talk about and obviously with respects to Black women, recognizing that we kind of live in a world that has like this whole idea of what beauty looks like, and it takes on this more European flavor, and the whole idea of what, like, the white image of attractiveness, and how Black women internalize that when they're going out to find a companion or whatever that case may be. Recognizing that we're using dating apps, and then we're only showing our profile picture, like, and then maybe just a little bit of a blurb or whatever the case may be. How has that really impacted Black women in terms of seeking a partner or seeking someone like an actual companion, recognizing that they have to kind of maybe conform to this whole idea or this whole image of what the white attractiveness is, and recognizing that you can only see the face, or like in those situations. And I see that Travis is coming back. He's he's in Jamaica right now, so he's coming in and out. But just wanted to get your feel on that question, and what have you been seeing in terms of some of the discussions you've been having with Black women and your clients, and how that whole idea of that whole white image of attractiveness and how that impacts them in terms of finding a partner.
Well, I would say, the women that come to us, and the men as well, they don't necessarily make that the focal point of the discussion, mm-hmm. because they understand the intention of our service, that we are catering, serving, focusing on Black women and Black beauty. In whichever way that comes, we know that we come in lots of different forms and look different. And so that discussion is not really something that is focused on necessarily. They come with confidence, knowing that our service understands who they are for the most part. Every individual is different. Just because you're Black, like 2 Black women are not equal in terms of personality, likes, dislikes. But it removes that discussion. It removes the hesitation, the fear. They understand that our clients know what they're getting in terms of beauty. And you see that even in, a lot of the profile pictures, they're showing up exactly as they are, right? And, of course, everybody wants to present the best outfit and things like that, but they're not necessarily presenting only a look that, we would say is a European.
I mean, and just to your question, I think a lot of what you're saying around Eurocentric standards of beauty are challenges that Black women, Asian women, like as a whole society battles with. And even when you talk to white women, they'll say they battle with these standards of beauty as well. But I think what complicates it for Black women is that there isn't a proliferation of diverse images of Black beauty that are held up as aspirational. So like, even if you think about, like, as a child, if I look at the books that I read, the dolls that I had, the cartoons even that we watched, the aspirational beauty was white. I think the challenge is that we don't have the same in same proportion for Black women, and so that presents a complexity around what people aspire to have by their side. But I think what we're uncovering through the experience of doing our consultations and through the research is that, for instance, Black men pick Black women at higher proportions than they don't. Even though the public discourse would suggest that Black men are flocking from Black women. We're also seeing that men of other races want to date Black women too. But whether it's through cultural expectation or fear of fetishizing Black women, men of other races don't necessarily approach. And Black women don't always recognize the subtleties that a non-Black man might be presenting as flirtation or as interest. And so Black women tend to shy away as well. So there's lots of things that are happening. And I think what we're trying to do is bust a lot of those myths and come to the table with a very optimistic perspective on this. Like, our perspective is not, oh, Black women can't find anybody, we got to do something. Our perspective is, no, but there's amazing, gorgeous, ambitious, supportive, loving partners that just need to find and have the facilitated matching occur. Like, that's the market failure, and that's what we're trying to address.
I have actually a question for you ladies. I wanted to know, in the dating world, I'm sure you guys have had many women and men get married through your services, and I wanted to know how do people feel nowadays, and what is the shift when it comes to traditional marriage traditions, such as the honeymoon, taking the last name, big wedding versus small wedding, going to court versus actually having the whole family, doing a traditional marriage overseas versus doing a conventional one here in Canada or whatnot. So I wanted to see what you guys are seeing as the culture shift or whatnot.
I think most of the conversations we've had to this point are around just dating, as opposed to that long-term commitment and the marriage ceremonies, etc. We do spend a lot of time talking to our friends, our clients, about gender roles. And, how do people view them now? What we've uncovered is that in some cases, individuals will describe something that they believe to be traditional, or they will use the word traditional, but as you start to ask the questions, what they're looking for is, or sorry, I should say vice versa. They may say they're non-traditional or somewhere in the middle, but when you start to have the deeper conversation, what they want is somebody who's traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And that has become a very interesting conversation because, even for women, maybe, shocker, you want to be a traditional in the sense that, hey, I'm the manager of the household. I'm a great cook. And I think that, what we've been told sort of as a society is that, women need to now work outside the home, which there's nothing wrong with that. They need to be at the board, in the boardroom, etc. And so sometimes when folks are describing what they are looking for, it's not actually what they are looking for. It's what they believe they should be
society says.
looking for, right?
What society says, I guess. In
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. Like I'm really appreciative of this conversation. I think that's amazing. And like maybe just in terms of your overall perspective and the things that you've been doing, what are some of the biggest challenges that Black women are facing when it comes to dating and relationships? Like and I think, Naki, you also talked about some of the misconceptions as well and some of the myths. And I thought when you talked about the idea that Black men are actually seeking out Black women, and that is actually something that is very that's happening a lot. But when you're in society, and then just in terms of the anecdotal experience, right, and when you're seeing it visually, you don't look at the Black couple, like the Black man and the Black woman. You focus on the Black man with the white girl, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about that.
Yeah.
You talk about the Black woman with the Asian man, and you talk about that, but you don't talk about the Black love that you see within society. And I think we as a society get focused on that, and it becomes like this, like you said, like this myth, this misconception that Black men are not actually seeking out Black women, and we're not able to be in those relationships long term because we are we're going out doing whatever and not treating our women a certain way. We can't keep our kids. We are not able to be financially stable to be able to provide for our families, and there's all these things around. But I think society always says that Black men can't take care of their Black women, but I don't think that's true. And we actually, most of my friends, quite frankly, have a Black woman. You know what I mean? So it's like I always get this. I'm always questioning, what it kind of looks. But maybe if you can just talk about that, but also like with respect to some of the challenges that Black women are facing when you're talking about in that dating world, like what are they experiencing? Maybe if you just elaborate more, and anyone can kind of talk, and Travis, if you want to jump in, yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear what you all have experienced in your. Yeah, go for it, Travis.
Yeah, just to give you guys some context, I've dated. Sorry, there's a airplane going I'm near Montego Bay, but I've experienced a lot of Black women in my dating life, and I've had great experiences. I would say like I have great honeymoon phases with these Black women, and one thing I would want to know from you guys is how willing do you find Black women? How willing are they of taking your advice when it comes to the first few dates? And I only say that because sometimes it's hard for a man to really show all of his goods and his value that he brings to the table. The first few dates, and women may grow impatient. How are you finding coaching? Just to go along with Chooks's question.
such a good question. And just before I definitely want to answer that, but I just want to get clarity when you say for a man to show all his goods and value. What do you mean by goods and value?
Well, for me, I think the greatest value I bring is that I um, have a lot of time to spend with our baby, our children. There's certain things that I bring per se that is not evident. I may have a lot of flexibility in my schedule. I may, I want to do things like homeschool my kids and stuff like that, and I have a lot of things in my brain that I want to do and stuff, and it also is to give my partner, my potential partner, time to herself so that she can, find herself, going through, postpartum or anything else like that, or just to know that she has somebody there. So if you knew that about me during my interview, let's say, how would you relate that to, to a lady that, to get her to kind of understand that, maybe, if this is what you're looking for, if this is a priority for you, this is the guy that actually is passionate about it. So, you should kind of persevere.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And we've heard that from men before, where men have said, I feel like women are not giving me enough time to show all that I can bring. And so it's like one date, two dates. If I didn't bring flowers on that first date, then she's like, oh, forget this guy. Or she'll have a caucus with her girlfriends, and the girlfriend will say, well, where did he take you? Oh, he took you there? No, 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 forget that guy. So I think that's sort of in line with what you're pointing to. And I will say that when we do coaching, it's funny when we're talking to the men will say, "Can you please coach the woman on this, and this, and this?"
Yeah.
And then we'll start saying, "Okay, and for you, here's what you need to think about." And like, "Oh no, I'm good." So there's definitely something interesting going on with some of the men that we've encountered who have wanted women to be coached, but are not really looking for the coaching for themselves. But
Right.
on the flip side, there's men who have been so open and ready
Absolutely.
coaching, and they have actually commented on that as part of the best parts of the experience of working with us. So just to lay the table on that, when it comes to what you're describing, what we've done usually in the consultation, and we usually follow this up before the first date occurs, when women are talking about the things that they like if they say, I really want a partner who's going to be supportive. I really want someone who's going to be a champion of me and my career. So then we'll ask, so how do you think you're going to see that? What's going to happen on that first date that's going to be indicative of that trait?
Yeah.
And then we ask them to think about what are they going to be looking for. And so even just like, we don't have to tell you what to look for, but even just asking the question starts to raise up. Okay, well, maybe I'll look for how he talks to the waiter, or maybe I'll look for how the questions that he asks me in response to the things that I'm saying in the conversation. So it becomes less about the material and more about the way that the engagement is happening. Now, that's not to discount the material,
Mm-hmm.
because the
Exactly.
material can also be indicative of something. The material can also be indicative of thoughtfulness, planfulness. And if you're a woman who's looking for someone with whom you can have a very secure future, one in which you've thought through a lot of the pitfalls that could happen in life, seeing someone be planful enough to say, I'm going to arrange a date where I heard you when you told me that you have a seafood allergy. I'm going to arrange a date at a place that's not all seafood. Like,
Thank you.
just those kind of details speak to a level of care
Yeah.
that is important in long-term relationship, even though it can seem superficial, and sometimes it is, but it can also point to a particular trait that could be valuable.
But Naki,
Well,
So I gotta,
but like I love it. Go ahead, Marco. Go ahead.
yeah, I just want to spice it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
I like what you said though.
So from your experience,
Spice it up.
what are the top 5 traits or personalities that women want in the dating pool?
Okay. Can we, I know Nana wanted to jump in and then and I would love to answer that
Very
question.
generally.
Yeah.
Okay. So all I was going to say is that, it's easy when we're having these conversations, and also for ourselves, this is natural as humans, to focus on, you sort of talked about this in interracial dating, to focus on negative things, right? It's easy to describe what you don't like, what the other person didn't do. But when we ask these questions about what does that look like, you're saying you want X, Y, Z. How will you know when you see it? And oftentimes people don't know how to describe it. And this is something that I think is very important. We do this for, job search, etc. We spend time thinking, visualizing, how will I recognize, the thing that I want? But we need to put more time in doing that when we're looking for a mate, not just focusing on the negative, but focusing on the things that are important in terms of that long-lasting relationship, not just the outfit he's wearing today. Yes, it is important that he had a shower and all those things, but really the qualities that would demonstrate this is somebody who would be a great partner, and as a lot of people describe it, as somebody I can quote unquote build with.
Yes.
And also, I think that's really awesome. I do agree. But don't you think that sometimes as the relationship progresses, those qualities and what you want change based on society, based on kids, based on your job, based on stress, based on your family dynamics, based on past histories? Like, those things change. So how do you navigate that? Like, because you can, during the intake, they can say they want this, you can decide, okay, what does that look like? They're like, okay, it looks like this. And then when they're in their relationships, those things change because of whatever certain situation. Like, as us men, like, it's the same thing for us, right? Our things will evolve based on how we grow. So that can create a lot of differences too as well. So I just think it's really interesting, like you mentioned. So I don't know how you kind of navigate that and how you talk about that when you're referring to your clients and stuff like that. But like, what's your feel on that kind of thing as well?
I think Marco had asked about the top 5 traits that women look for, and I definitely want to. And I would love to hear what Nana thinks on that too. But I think we probably could compile a list of top 10. But I think the thing that people don't say that I think more people should say is someone with whom I can negotiate.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because that is what gets to the question that you're asking, Chirks.
Okay.
Because over time we are changing. Like, if we don't change, so
exactly.
That's a hard one.
Over the course of a relationship, you are going to change.
Yeah.
But can you negotiate with your partner, and can you be fair to your partner?
Yeah.
Right.
I think those are the 2 things. I want someone who can be fair to me, and I want someone with whom I can say, well, you're saying this, but what about this? Can we look at it from this perspective? Like, that quality, I think, is critical.
And just to add to that, Marco, we're coming. Just to add to that.
I got a lot of spicy questions.
Yes, we need the spice.
Yeah.
The other thing is this idea of negotiating is beautiful, because the reality is that yes, everyone changes, and in our mind we think that in this dating game everything should be fixed. Right? Yeah. And what I know about you now better damn well be what I know about you tomorrow. Otherwise, I'm going to be really upset. And it's not realistic. If we go through the dating as a process, right? You start to flow with it. You adapt. You do the negotiation. You start to understand what it is that is now important for you. It doesn't mean it's going to be bad. And I think sometimes we make that assumption that the change is going to be negative somehow. It may be just different, or something that you have not considered before. So it's just a change in thinking.
Yeah, so a lot of your work is like fighting through these insecurities and these myths.
Well, I mean, when you go into a date, sort of like Chooks is like, what about if the person changes? I mean, a lot of things happen, right? The idea is to stay open
Yeah.
when you first meet the person, where you cannot, as we've described it before, people want to go into a dating situation and they want to understand, it's like a story, and they want to understand what the end of the book is telling them right now.
Yeah.
What is the conclusion, right? It's been like 10 minutes. How are you going to know if this person's going to be a perfect spouse, provider, whatever it is that you believe that you need in 10 minutes? It takes quite a long time. I mean, I've talked to a lot of friends who are married as well, and they said they've been married for a while and have said it still takes a long time to know somebody.
Yeah.
The way I describe it too is like to build on Nana's analogy, the dating process is a book. So the first date, you're just reading the introduction. You're reading the back cover. You're reading the back cover, which is
back cover.
Yeah. And then as you have more dates, it's chapter by chapter by chapter by chapter. You might get to the end of the book and you realize, oh yes, I want to read the sequel. And I want to build a life with this person. You get married, and now you're getting the prequel. Actually,
right?
You're getting the sequel. You're getting the prequel because what you're getting I'm sure Chooks, I think you're married, right?
Yeah.
So you tell me if this resonates, because in my experience, you get married and it's in the marriage process, or in that when you've made the commitment to a very long-term relationship, that you actually start to understand, how did this person become who they are?
Yeah.
And then you start to understand like all of the things that make them who they are, and how you engaging with those things affects you and your relationship. But we think on the first 2 dates, we're supposed to know all of that. It's an unreasonable expectation.
Yes, it is unreasonable.
So yeah, I don't want to miss Marco's question, because I think that's going to be a hot topic. So maybe we could talk, and just in your line of work, like what are some of those traits? Like what?
Naki, you go first.
Let's talk about that. Let's
we'll go back and forth. We'll go back and forth here.
Okay. Because you said you're gonna make this spicy, I am gonna give you raw.
Yeah.
Bring the spice. Bring the spice.
Let's go.
Bring the spice.
My volume's on max.
I mean, I think so. The thing that, when it kind of connects back to a question that was asked before about dating challenges, I think one of the big challenges is women are saying that they cannot find men who want to commit, who are serious about dating. So top of the list is they want someone who is serious about dating. That's and wants to be in a relationship. Period. Boom. That's one.
That's a hot one.
That's
a hot one to start.
Because they're tired of meeting guys who pretend or believe that they want to date, but they actually don't want to date, or maybe pretend or believe that they're monogamous, but they're actually wanting to be polygamous. So, women want that clarity. Second thing I would say is security. So, and I think there's this, again, one of the myths is that women want like the man who makes 6 figures. I think ideally, yes, they would want that, but they want someone who has steady income and has ambition and is proud of whatever they're doing, and if what they're doing is makes less than them. I have not heard a woman say, I need the man to make more than me. In the multiple interviews we've done, I've never heard that. So what they want is a man who has an ambition, has a plan, and is actioning that plan. That's something that I think is coming out a lot more, because a lot of the times women are saying, yeah, I meet this guy, he has all these plans, he's talking about all these great things he's going to do, but the action isn't there.
Okay.
They want the action.
Okay.
I will say that some of the women that we encounter are over preoccupied with height.
Correct. Over preoccupied is the word here.
Whoa.
Yeah, I will be honest.
Really?
6 feet
Let me
plus.
let me say one thing though.
Yeah.
As someone who's medium tall,
Yo, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I'll say that it's an advantage that it's an advantage like having money is an advantage.
Being tall?
You know?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Shoots. You have no idea.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you see the leg, you
Yeah.
see the popularity of leg lengthening surgeries, right? Can you
What?
imagine
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yo, I'm not
That's-
in this. This is not me right now. I don't
This
know.
is real.
No, like I saw, I read an article. I mean,
Tall.
it's not. I mean, it's expensive, and it
Wow.
takes like a 2 years to recover or something like this.
Wow.
But men, like I read an article yesterday. A guy
Like
who's
six
5'5".
months just to be able to walk again comfortably. It takes
Exactly.
about 6 months for the procedure to even happen. Like it's over a prolonged period of time. So it literally automatically, like while you're sleeping and while you're resting, it literally breaks your bone in your tibia and literally stretches.
Why
it
do you
with-
know so much information about
Wait.
this?
Yeah,
Because I was
Marco.
watching a podcast and that was one of the thing was how popular it was. And it's really like, yeah, it's like 75 to 120,000, bro.
What?
And it's like,
That's crazy.
and it's crazy enough, it's all of these Silicon Valley. So it makes total sense.
But the thing about it is, with the height, for sure, it's a preoccupation. We know this in the professional realm as well. Not that I want to necessarily go there. There's certain qualities, right, that we associate with being authoritative, knowledgeable, a leader. You know, I know of a gentleman who always believed the politician with the full head of hair was the one that seemed to be more on point. Like, and he didn't
Wow.
even, I'm serious, he didn't even realize that that's what he was saying, but always lean forward and make some sort of comment about that. And I mean, people would, you know, that's a whole other thing if you want to talk about hair as well. But height, for sure, is a preoccupation. And what we've, you know, uncovered, or what we know, is that, for one, if you just look at the numbers, I mean, sorry, I don't have the exact percentage, but I think it's in the single digits of men who are above 6 feet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know, like
So if most of them are not 6 feet, then
less than 8% of men are.
yes. So just by numbers, majority of us will not be dating somebody who is 6 feet or more. And especially if you are 5'4", why is that a deal breaker?
exactly. I was just thinking, I'm like, women are not like 6'2", 6'3". They're small. Like why would that be a problem? But
Well, some men want small women too. So, but anyways, that's a whole other.
You know,
We can talk about the top. We can talk about the men's list as well, and then you all can validate it for us. But we can talk.
Okay.
Okay.
What else?
So,
on
I think for the men, I think that one of the biggest things that they've expressed is nurturing and support.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that they've said that they really look for, need. What they're also looking for, let's talk about spice. They want youth.
Yeah.
They want women who are younger than them by a lot.
Yeah.
In a way that it is, in some cases, maybe doesn't. Not problematic. It just problematic. Travis was saying, but maybe just doesn't make sense for what it is that they are communicating, that they say they want and need for their life. Right? This is the same thing.
You know,
you're saying you want A, but in actuality, you're not going to get A with this type of individual.
You know, it goes back to how dating has become kind of transactional. You know, so you know, you get a guy who's tall. Okay, he doesn't have to make that much money. You know, you get a girl who, you know, has a really nice body. Okay, well, she doesn't have to be that nurturing. And I think as we get experience, we start tinkering with what we're willing to deal with and what we're not, and we tinker with that priority list of what we want. So you know, I went through a time where I dated girls who's 23 and I'm 38. I've dated girls like that, and I never took it seriously. You know, it would take a special 23-year-old to be able to, so I've made sense in my head. If I meet somebody and they're 33, I'm taking them a lot more seriously and seeing what's going on. So, certain men don't get that chance to date someone who's 10, 15 years younger than them. They want that taste, you know.
But what's so interesting though is another thing that one of the things that we hear from men is, I want someone who I can build with, who's going to match my energy.
Right.
And that is a common thing that we hear.
Common.
And then we say, okay, so what does that look like? So it looks like a woman who's like top of her game in whatever field she's in. She's bringing in, good income. She has a plan. They're building legacy. And then we'll say, okay, so then what's the age range that you're looking for, Mr. 39-year-old? Oh, I'm looking at someone like 23 to 30.
Yes.
Are you kidding?
And then I'll say, so the type of woman that you said you wanted, have you dated that type of woman before?
Right.
And then they'll think about it and they'll run through the list. And then they'll say, actually, no, never.
No.
So the thing that they say they want, they've never chosen.
Right.
And I would say again that, someone who is 23, a woman who is 23, you're gonna deal with certain things that you don't have to deal with a 33-year-old, because they're learning. They may make mistakes that you may think that is immature.
Yeah.
But it's not immature for a 23-year-old. So,
Oh, Travis, so you're saying that a 23-year-old would want a 33-year-old? Is that what you're saying?
Well, potentially, but is the 33-year-old ready to take on someone who will need to learn through life, right? And also, do you have the money to sustain her, to support her, because she's gonna need it more than a 33-year-old who may be more advanced in their career. So there's a lot of things that men just need to really take on, be more realistic about, than just saying, I want the 23-year-old.
But it goes back to the point about negotiation. So you're 33, you're dating a 23-year-old. Maybe you are that guy who has money, you have the propensity to support her through all the growth that she's going to undertake. Because I've seen that too. Older guys who date younger girls and pay for their MBA, do all that stuff. But just remember that when she finishes that, she's not going to be the same woman that you are.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
Now are you
Correct.
and have you cultivated a culture of negotiation in your relationship where now you can negotiate with this brand new person?
Yes.
Yep. She's beginning a new stage in her life, and what you did before that will kind of dictate her priority going forward. So yeah, you have to be prepared for that. I've been in that situation.
So let's do go with this spicy conversation and go a little bit deeper. One of the things that we've been hearing, about men and that they want to date women who are younger, significantly younger, and we go and ask the question, why? And there's a variety of answers. Okay, the most obvious, and most clear is like, I want to have a child.
Yeah.
But then
Is that
or
obvious?
children.
Oh, really? That's what they say?
So, no, I'm saying but you can accept the response. You're like, okay, we understand reproductivity, blah, blah,
I don't know
blah.
if that's true, though.
But, right, but the reality is when you start having these conversations, the question becomes, are you afraid? Can you handle, manage, whatever word you want to use? Is there some hesitation that you have with dating somebody who is actually probably age appropriate and is what you've described as what you want?
Yeah.
Why are you resisting what seems to be obvious to us? Nobody has been able to really come forth and answer that question. I'll put it out to you, men.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to hear the men's take on that, because Trix is saying that he doesn't believe it. Because the thing is, and in some cases, Nana, we've talked to men who already have 4 kids,
Yes.
3 kids, and you still want a younger woman, and you're saying it's because you want to have
Travis.
4 kids?
Yes.
Like, why?
I think
That is not
think
true.
from the
That is
more-
not true. That is not
from
We
a
speak the
man's
truth here. We speak
That
the
is
truth.
not.
Hey, I'm
Yeah, no,
best
I
friend's
believe her.
pick.
I believe her. I believe her.
I would
I
assume.
got 2 good reasons why.
Okay,
And
you
I'll
go,
let
you go,
Chugas
you go.
first. I'm gonna let Chugas go first.
No. Go ahead, man.
Okay, so for me, as a man, the way I've seen it, and I've seen it from personal experience, not just myself, but my father, my stepmother, she's like 22 years younger than my dad. Like,
Okay.
something like that. So for me, I've seen it, and I think primarily is malleable, right? Like you mentioned,
Okay.
somebody that is more negotiable. Somebody that is younger than you will either look at you as a more authoritarian figure and will actually be more negotiable. There's always the push and pull in relationship, and somebody's got to pull, somebody's got to give in a little bit. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I've seen. And I've also noticed like it changes in terms of culture. Like a lot of men, when they say now that they want a younger woman, they actually want a younger woman in a different. They just want somebody in a different culture. And I've seen,
Okay.
Say more about that. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, and I've seen it from personal things where whether they're Caribbean men, they come into Canada and they have a relationship with their black women for an extended amount of time, and they're just tired, they're unwanting of that relationship. And later on, they find that a one younger woman, more preferably white or of other culture, is more suitable for them. I don't know why it is, but I just do think that there is also like the culture shift in our generations that are coming, where black men are more attractive than they were back then, and as well as women of other nations are more malleable. Other women of other cultures are actually more malleable than black women. What black women?
Oh,
are
bring the spice.
Okay,
Okay.
He
Good,
said
good,
it.
good.
Hey,
Malleable.
I told you I was ready for the
Okay.
spice.
Listen, first, Naki, I'll get you to round it out. Okay. So the thing about being malleable, I'm thinking about pottery. You know, it's a very beautiful art. But when you have the clay and you're molding it, okay, the clay itself is passive. It doesn't do anything. It is the person who is molding, who's doing all the work to form it into this clay into a shape that they desire. Right? That's how I see negotiation is you put forth your offer, I put forth mine. We talk about it and we try to come to an agreement where both people walk away with something that they feel satisfied with. So
One thing I would add is I don't experience much difficulty, but I would say that what Marco was saying, the I kind of lost track. I kind of lost track of Marco. What were you saying earlier about?
Just like
Malleable,
yeah,
right?
malleable. But when
So
I'm using the term, go ahead. Actually, go.
Okay, so I find that black women, they tend to hold on to the culture of hip hop and Caribbean, that culture,
Traditional.
right? They hold it up, so they're looking for preferably a black man to kind of match that, right? Like for instance, when they go out with their friends, they want to be able to bring their man to their friends, and he can kind of jive with that situation. So it comes back to what Marco was saying. If Marco, for instance, or somebody, another black man, doesn't fit that cultural box where you're hip hop a little bit, or you're a little bit Caribbean, you got that little vibe that you can kind of jive with what they got going. Even though they're a boss chick, they still want Tupac in a suit, right? So sometimes black men find it hard to fit in that box, and they go to other cultures because it's just there's no kind of standard. They can kind of be themselves, and they'll be accepted and loved and really cherished that way.
Hey, can I challenge that a little bit? Can I challenge
Yes, spice it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna
spice it.
because I think and having Nana and I both went to a university where it was very few black people, and one of the comments that I will never forget this, that a black man said when we asked him why does he go to the clubs where there's no black people, and And he said, I go there because I get so much love.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I do.
That's true though. That's
No matter
true.
what I'm
That's very
wearing.
true.
It doesn't matter. Like
Okay.
I could not have showered for a week and I'll just stand
True.
there and I will have
That's
5 girls on me.
yeah.
And I think part of what that is that some Black men have no problem being fetishized.
Oh,
True.
Some men have absolutely no issue with that, and some men actually want that.
Yes.
And so there is that dynamic at play that we cannot ignore. The second piece is there's an understanding of I think that in a lot of cases, Black men have grown up with Black women who have had to work really hard. And so you see these women as hardworking, and I think for some men you attach the idea of hardworking with independent, and you don't need me. And then
Right.
for women of other cultures are seen more as feminine, more delicate, more in need of support. And I think for some Black men, there's a sense that I'm needed here.
Yes.
And when Marco talks about
Interesting.
the man who says Black women or the women of other cultures are more malleable, I think what's underneath that is I can control this woman.
Right.
This woman will be more submissive to me. And she needs me. And the fact that I'm just standing there makes me appealing to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do think that's at play, because I've seen women of other cultures who are in relationships, and this is absolutely by no means all women of non. I'm not talking about all non-Black women. I'm talking about some, where they're just so happy to be with a Black man that they'll just do anything for him, and the minimal that he does is amazing.
Yes.
And
Very low bar.
And why wouldn't a man want that? I get
Right.
that.
Jungle
I get
food.
Right. I
But
think you have to.
I don't think in the long run that's satisfying.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think that we do have to be very careful of the stereotypes and grouping all Black women in this way, because what happens is, even if we don't verbalize it, our behavior is suggesting that this is what we believe, right? That all Black women want this type of man. All Black women are this way. You know, when we have men coming to our service, in some cases they're actually in disbelief of the quality of the women that we have, and their energy starts to change when they recognize that you are saying you want all of these qualities, but also this woman has to want you as well.
Hello.
And they're like,
people in the back.
right, like you also have to be accepted as well. And they look at you, and the energy is like, oh, what? You know, I thought I was just picking.
Surprise.
I was the
You
prize.
know, exactly. And we've had these discussions over and over, because I think that mindset sometimes comes along with the men. They just believe that all Black women are basically the same.
And can I add one thing to that point, because I think that's so critical. We cannot box people.
Right.
And there's no concentration of any character trait that's in one group of that's in one culture. So
Yes.
if you are looking for a submissive woman who wants to be traditional, you will find that amongst Black women.
Yes.
Amongst all cultures.
I have
Absolutely.
Yeah, go
I have
for
an
it.
example. I have an example of not putting people in a box. That we share a friend, Chooks, who, he dated white women exclusively, in his teens, in his early 20s, and I could tell that, being a single, his mom being a single mom, and having to work hard affected the way he saw Black women, just as you said, and it didn't. He kind of grew out of it. Like, just getting older, he started to realize that he did want a Black woman to marry and to have kids with, but it took time. He saw me with black women all the time, and that kind of affected him. He started to see his mom in a different way and learn his history. And only in his maybe late 20s did he start to exclusively date Black women. So, and another thing too is that it took me a long time to realize that women are autonomous and have their own, dreams and goals outside of a man and a family.
Correct.
And it took me a long time. It took me longer than it should have.
Welcome to the party.
So
Happy to have
yeah,
you.
so a lot
to
of
the
men.
21st century.
No, well, you know what I mean, because we say we want to lead, and we got in the church and we start talking about submissiveness and stuff like that. But we need to really realize, really understand that women are autonomous, and we need to speak to them and have a conversation. We can't, dictating is not the way long term.
And like you said, like the communication is really key, right? I think that's very, very important. It's particularly when if you're dating, you have to be very transparent in terms of what your past experiences have been. How is that going to influence your actions moving forward with your your potential partner? When you're in relationships as well, that's even critically important. You know what I mean? Because you're constantly being in that household with that partner and engaging in various things, right? You can fight about anything, right? So it's really having really open, transparent communication. And I know you talked about it, Naki and Nana, about that. And I think that's what we men need to be able to take into consideration when we're having a relationship with the
Shoots, the biggest thing they said is that there's men who think they're ready for a monogamous relationship. They say they want a monogamous relationship, and then when they're 2 feet into the water, they're like, no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
men really have to do the work, because if I did that, I would feel horrible that I gave the impression that I was ready, when I wasn't ready.
But Travis, we're gonna put ourselves on blast. Man, I've done that. Like I've done that personally, right? Like when I was coming up when I was dating, like I've been in situations where I knew I was never gonna date this girl. I just, it's just what it is, right? But personally, I always had this thought in my head, like even when I was young, I was always going to end up with a black woman. Like I always said that to myself, even though I dated white, I dated a lot of white, but I did it around. But I always said to myself, I must end up with a black woman. And I prayed to God. I was like on my hands and knees, just trying to find the woman for me. And then luckily it happened, right? And I'm so grateful. But like I always going through that kind of journey and seeing the kind of quality that I was dealing, I was like, this is not for me, right? I needed to switch. And quite frankly, like that was a huge point in my life, right? And having my partner is kind of indicative of my life right now. And I think that also in terms of, when we're talking about, coming in as yourself, right? We are two people, right? I come in with my baggage, I come in with my hang-ups, I come in with my positivity, but whatever it is for myself, and the woman does the same, and then we grow together, right? I think that we can't always focus on what you have and what they need to have and what characteristics do you need. Like those things will change as you're in relationship, right? Like, so I find it hard sometimes, dating, because like society and then our relationship will change, our personalities may even change, our wants and needs might change, but we have to be in concert with each other to be able to do that. And I think it's important that and it goes back to the communication, right? We need to be able to communicate and have healthy dialogue in those spaces to know, to just try to improve and have strength in our relationships, right? So I think that was really one that I wanted to say.
Speaking of what you have, what I have, oftentimes you'll hear from men, oh, well, why does this woman expect me to have X dollars, this car, that, whatever? Why does she want all these things to be presented? And women, in some cases, they do make those requests and say, he needs to have this, this, and this. And, receiving that information, people are put off by it, but they don't necessarily understand where maybe some of it comes from. So when we speak to a lot of women, they are sharing stories in which they have had a lot and given a lot.
Yeah.
They have given a lot, and only thing that's happened to them is it's been taken. And so what you try to do is protect yourself, right? This is kind of why we're in this situation. We got this matchmaking service. People are protecting themselves. They're trying to prevent the hurt, right? They're trying to prevent bad things, or what we believe to be bad things, from happening to us. And then also to Naki's point about Black women and other races, it seems in some cases that men, I won't just say Black men, may feel or are okay with showing, I have this, I have that, I want to spend money on you here, there, everywhere. But for some reason, there's a restriction when it comes to Black women, or there's a different thinking in terms of presenting what you have or how to treat them. What's wrong with flowers? Why aren't you bringing flowers? Why aren't you, rolling out the red carpet? You would be doing that perhaps with a woman of a different race. So what is the issue here? And so these are the kinds of things that we're hearing in all discussions from both sides.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it goes to the sort of a prevailing view of what Black women's femininity. And Nana and I have experienced this a few times where we've been in consultations with men, Black men, non-Black men, who have said, "You're so soft.
Yes.
The two of you are so gentle." And they look genuinely shocked.
Shocked.
Interesting.
And it just makes me wonder, like, what view do they hold of Black women that they would that the experience with us would be so contrasting? And I'll give you one quick example. There was a situation that I was in a club environment, and I had purchased a bottle service for my girlfriend's birthday, and the bottle service never came. So I happened to know the promoter, and I went to him and I said, "Hey, like, I'm not sure what's going on." And I spoke just like the way I'm speaking to you now. Our bottles haven't shown up. Just wondering, like, can you give us an ETA? Like, the party's I'm hearing last call. Like, what are the bottles coming? And he's like, "Why are you standing there like twisting up your neck and doing all this stuff?" And I was like, "Whoa, when did you see me doing that?" In the conversation that I've been having with you, I've been talking to you like this. And your mind is saying that I'm doing this to you. There's 100 people here who can tell you that I have not done that to you in the last 10 minutes. But that is how powerful visuals are. That he could project something that maybe he's seen on TV somewhere, bring that we're having, where this isn't actually happening.
Yeah.
So a man can be in a work environment with Black women, he can be in social settings with Black women, and not even see the supportive, nurturing side, but still hold and project his own ideas onto an interaction that he's having.
Some of these guys like to date women who they like the look of a lady who might be like in an impoverished neighborhood and have a certain upbringing. That's their type, and they're stereotyping all Black women, right? Like that particular woman that they like, So it kind of blinds them, unfortunately, to what, because the Black women. Because I'm not, I don't assume Black women are masculine when I'm approaching them, when I'm dealing with them. They're always soft with me. So, but if I thought they were masculine, then I would see that in their actions, because the mind is a powerful thing, right? So
yeah, and
Well,
go ahead, Nana.
the interesting thing is that the caliber of women we have are like the ones you're looking at and talking to right now, and it is shocking. It is shocking. The type of experience. I mean, shocking. I mean, we've been through it. We know, right? But you know what you're, quote unquote, bringing to the table. You know who you are. You know how nurturing you want to be. you know how much you want to give the other person. And, sometimes it's about that. It's that the interactor, how people treat you kind of sets you off, right? We're not all perfect. And you don't get a fair chance sometimes as a Black woman, because even though Naki is not that woman, okay? She is far from this person. And it is a bit, it's unfortunate, and it's unfair to be treated and managed, manhandled in a way that it's not you. It is just not you. And what will that do? It just starts to, the more experiences you have like that, it starts to change you as a person. So you show up in a way that maybe you don't really want to, but you start to develop these like habits and behaviors, and you're showing up in ways that are actually not opening the door for the right partner period.
And I think, and I know this is a great conversation. We're going to have many more conversations like this, trust me, people. But I just wanted to add, and just in terms of Naki, your point in terms of, how like the club scene, because for us as Black men, sometimes we won't even get into the club. Like we're stopped at the door. So because of what we look and how we portray ourselves. And, I could come with this shirt, I can come with my shoes, I can come with the pressed jeans, and I can look proper. And I'll be, categorized as a thug or whatever the case may be. And we won't even be able to get into that spot. So it's like that the societal nature of how our Black men are envisioned in society is definitely what we're trying to do. We're trying to counteract those perceptions of how we should show up in society. And I think that's really important, because Black women are going through that same kinds of issues. So as same thing for us as well. Right, because I think that's really a key point. We have a lot of similarities there in terms of how society views us. But like, I know we've been a little over time too. I wanted to keep it to about an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and but I just wanted to close. And like I said, we're gonna definitely have a lot more conversations. I really appreciate Naki and Nana being here. Obviously, Travis, Marco. Hopefully, we can get Patience on as well for our next episode. And but yeah, just follow us on Facebook. We can probably put our handles on, but we'll definitely be bringing these lovely ladies on to have additional conversations about relationships. But we thank you everybody for joining us, and we're just signing off now, so everyone can say goodbye to our audience.
See you next time.
All right, thank you.
Time for the beach.
Okay.